Thank you all. I'll try to be as brief as Jerry. Captain John, President David, officers, trustees, guests, and fellow members. Before proposing a toast of Captain's guests, I'd like to introduce them to you. At least those of them that are worthy of introduction. The likes of Donald O'Connell won't get a mention, but I will try to be quick, as I know how anxious John is to get a hold of the microphone. I think hogging the microphone has been one of the highlights of his year. John's co-captain Lou is represented by her husband Ado, and Ado, you're very welcome. Lou's had a fantastic year, so please congratulate her on our behalf, and also congratulate her on her inspired choice for next year with Sarah Brophy, who will be very, very happy. John's family are well represented tonight. His three sons, Ross, Tom and Owen, are all active members, all good golfers. All invited, only Owen is bothered to show up tonight, and Owen, you're very welcome. Unfortunately, Ross and Tom couldn't be here, but I know they both genuinely would love to be and wish John every success for the night. John's brothers David and Paul are both here with us, as are his nephew Ryan and his brother-in-law Kieran. Again, all members and all good golfers. David, as you know, was joint captain of the Cup team this year along with Maurice Geary, another guest, and steered the team to the final, which we were narrowly beaten by Edmonstown, which would have been the icing on the cake for John's year. But yeah, well done, lads. I'd like to now just introduce you to the visiting captains, and you're all very welcome to Milltown Golf Club. I hope you all enjoyed the evening. Potentially one of the last captain's dinners in the clubhouse as we know it. The proposal to renovate is something that is close to John's heart. It's something he's worked on quietly throughout the year, and he's doing his very best to get us good value guys, so we appreciate that. He's been tapping all of his fellow captains throughout the year whenever he could. In a slight break with protocol, Edmonstown have two representatives here tonight. Yeah. Jerry Heine, their captain, and their chairperson, Robert McNaughton, and you're both very, very welcome. Jerry was concerned that he wouldn't be able to find his way to Milltown, and he didn't want the embarrassment of proceedings being delayed due to his late arrival, and therefore he asked if Robin would give him a lift. Jerry's fear was due to his own captain's dinner a couple of weeks ago being substantially delayed when a certain captain, who shall remain nameless, but isn't known for arriving on the tee early in Milltown. However, he did arrive, and ultimately everything was good. While John does have issues with timekeeping, Jerry, I understand, has lots of issues with directions. For his own captain's dinner, he decided to avoid all traffic problems and to arrive by helicopter. And it was an immense surprise to their fellow members in Rathfarnham when, for some reason, and by mistake, a helicopter arrived on their 18th fairway. Robin is, in fact, he's a friend of John, a very good friend of Joe Egan. Robin is the owner of Tile Style, and the real reason he's here tonight is John has secured a very good deal for the clubhouse. Rory McMahon is captain of Rathfarnham, and again, Rory, you're very welcome. Rory was in the same class of John in school, Gonzaga in 1982. I think he's the only member of that class who isn't a member of Milltown. Both Rory and John married Muckross girls. They have a lot in common as a result. I think John was delighted when Rory was captain this year as well, as he had a partner in crime for all of the various visiting captain's days. Rory works for an engineering company, and they supply and design electrical fibre and cabling in new builds. John has arranged that we will have state-of-the-art communications. Rory, he's presided over a very successful year in Rathfarnham, and it seems that his only blip was in his own captaincy last week when he asked John to speak. Apparently, a very, very good speech, but it was 1 a.m. before he got the microphone back. Brian Tector, captain of Portmarnock, and again, Brian, you're very welcome. I feel a little bit like a British Prime Minister after a US election, because we always have to mention the special relationship that we have. There is a special relationship. We both have many common members. Clearly, with Portmarnock being on the north side, it has more common members than Milltown. That's our common members over there. Brian is a Fine Gael activist and indeed ran himself in the local elections some years ago. He's a wizard when it comes to scouting votes and securing votes. In recent years, we also know that Portmarnock voted to allow women members, and they're currently in the process of canvassing votes to allow Portmarnock host the British Open, and we wish you the very best of luck with that. Armed with all of that knowledge, John felt that Brian could be of some assistance. He could advise on how to achieve the 75% of votes required to sell the house on the edge of the Brian didn't have an immediate answer, but he did helpfully suggest that we could consult with our near neighbours on Orwell Road, the Russian embassy, who have huge experience in achieving votes of over 95%. I'd now like to welcome a former playing partner of Pádraig Harrington, who played a lot of junior golf with Pádraig. Constantly being asked whether he regrets not turning pro himself when he sees how well Pádraig has done, Brendan Meany, captain of Castle, is quite adamant that he has no regrets and is happy to play off 14. I'd like to congratulate Brendan, who played on the Castle Barton Cup winning team just a few weeks ago, something that Pádraig has never achieved. There were times throughout the year when I genuinely thought was considering a transfer to Castle. After the visiting captain's dinner, he was quoted in the Castle newsletter, and I quote, it says, "John O'Grady, Milltown captain, said Castle is the envy of all neighbouring clubs and is undoubtedly the best parkland club in Dublin." Andy Sheehan will respond to that in due course. John assures me that one, he had a lot to drink when he said that, and two, that he said the exact same thing about all of the other clubs. But only the past was gullible enough to actually believe. Brendan isn't involved in building, so John wasn't sure how we could tap him to help us with our proposed project. Then he remembered we do need advice on how to best utilise our balcony, and who better than the captain of I'd like to welcome the captain of the Artisans, Billy Kelly. The Artisans are a very important part of Milltown, and it was great to see this year in particular that they got a little bit more exposure than other years. That seems like a lot of people don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, well, I did meet Billy, and Billy, it was honestly difficult to recognise you with your clothes on. And the advice of life Fitzgibbon, his team council, I need to point out, Billy is not the person who are laughing.
Don't say anything else.
Our General Manager Warren Ryan, Corps Superintendent Andy Sheehan, and our professional Dara Lernahan are all very welcome. Andy has been with us now for many years, while both Warren and Dara are relatively recent. They both seemed to fit in extremely well, and we're delighted to have them all in Milltown. I'm sure Dara in particular is looking forward to the proposed Golf Academy, which I think will be a great facility if it does go ahead. I have had the Ben is because good. I had the opportunity of taking lessons myself with Dara during the course of the year, and Dara, at the end of the year, I'd like to thank you very much. I got a lot out of those lessons. 2.2 shots back to be exact. John's guests include members of our management committee and a number of personal guests, and obviously with your forgiveness, because it's a huge table, I'm not going to mention everybody by name. But on behalf of John, I'd like to welcome you all and thank you for attending. And we do appreciate particularly all of the work that people on committees and management do for the club, because it's that kind of volunteering that makes the club special and makes Milton a special place. I will mention just one of John's personal guests, Gary Gleeson, a very active member, because Gary got engaged last week. I would like to congratulate Gary and his hopefully soon-to-be wife, and hopefully soon-to-be member, Mary, on their wonderful news. Our trustees are represented by Billy Gleeson, Jim Byrne and Mo Patterson, all former captains who, like everybody else, are dying to find out who's going to be bestowed with that honour for 2025. So finally, can I just say to you that John is a very good friend of mine and one of the most positive people I know.
Hear, hear.
Nothing phases him at all. At this point, I was going to finish with a short joke that epitomises John's positivity. And we were following a quick dress rehearsal just before I came up here, telling that joke would have a serious ramifications on both my marriage and the relationship with my youngest daughter. So you're going to have to do without. And so all that remains is for you all to please maybe be upstanding and toast the captain's guests.